Hello, hello. Happy Monday. I am so excited to be with you today for the second installment of my conversation series, Elevate Coaching. My name is Rosella Ide White, and I am your Love Big Coach. My singular focus is to nurture more life-giving and justice-seeking love in this world so all can thrive. I'm so excited because today we have one of my coaches and the CEO of Inner Glow Circle with us to have some conversations about what coaching is, what coaching isn't, things around niching, things around the power of possibility, the way that we create new realities, the coaching relationship, all of the good stuff. So I'm excited to
Mm.
have Olivia Chapman, we call her Liv, with us today. So welcome, Olivia.
Thank you for having me. I miss you already. I know we were only together just a week ago, and I'm like, oh, now
I
we get to
know.
be together again. Although I do prefer in person with you because then I can really feel the love big. But also, you were like talking about coaching. I'm like, you were like, I was blown away at the event that we were at by your like coaching questions and your support of all of the other attendees. So your coaching is just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
practicing receiving. Thank you. All right.
Yes,
And
receive.
and even as I know that I've learned that there are some innate gifts I have, I know that my coaching increased tenfold through Inner Glow Circle. So I
Oh,
also thank you for your leadership, you and Katie, and all of the incredible coach trainers and support that community provides. So
well, thank
yeah.
you.
So I'm excited because the first conversation I had was with a friend of mine who is a therapist who also has started coaching. So we were able to kind of get into the difference between therapy and coaching. And I think
Oh,
today I
love
want
that.
to talk about also training and like the reality that one of the things that drew me to IGC was that y'all were like, now you're going to be a prepared certified coach. We're going to prepare you for ICF credentialing. Like
Yeah.
y'all really care about the preparation. So can you just talk a little bit first and foremost about IGC?
Yeah.
And also this philosophy about why certifying coaches is important.
Yeah, I'd love to. Great questions too. And I know they're controversial questions sometimes, and people have different opinions about this. And, my background before coming to coaching was in education. So I was a certified teacher in elementary school, elementary education, and special education. I taught in DC public schools for 6 years and got my master's in educational leadership or administration. I was going to be a principal basically. And then, one
I
thing
could
led
see
to
it.
another. And now I'm like a principal, but like in an online school.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But one of the things that became very important to me was being really great at coaching because what I realized quickly, and so my coaching journey started by doing these like after school workshops for girls and teens and eventually women and moms. And I got to a point where I was giving a lot of advice, which is okay. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, these people are taking what I say and actually doing things in their life. And I was like, I don't feel like I know enough or I'm prepared enough to confidently actually sell this, right? Because most of what I was
Mm-hmm.
doing at the beginning was, I mean, I was just following the steps. I wasn't really making money at the beginning or anything like that. I was just like wanted to help in different ways than drilling math facts, which I
Yeah.
never did and probably would have got fired anyway. So there's that. But I realized that getting properly trained is it's just one of my values, right? to
Mm-hmm.
be to be really solid, not just so that I can help people at a higher level, but it also really helped with my confidence and
Yeah.
being able to show up fully. So certification to me was really important, but I've got to be honest, I never cared that much about the ICF stuff until I got deep into the coaching industry and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like
Yeah.
just some of the darker side of the coaching industry, which like I don't want to spend too much time on. And
But no, this is important, right? Because part of this conversation series is to address, I think there's a lot of misinformation and even some ignorance around what coaching is, what coaching isn't. And over the
yeah,
last now going into 7 years of having my business, there are a lot of people who call themselves coaches. And when I hear what they're doing, or when I hear others who say, well, I worked with a coach and this is what we did, I'm like, oh, that wasn't coaching.
right,
So
right.
yeah. So when you think about the training and the certification, like for me, and I'm with you, it's important not because I feel like people have to have it to do or be something, But I
Mhm.
think it's important because we're constantly growing in our skills. We're engaging in other modalities. We're being introduced to new ways and methods of thinking. And so
Yes.
it's important for me. And because I was trained and, certified or, in my former
Yeah.
career as well, I wanted to do that for this chapter.
Yeah, and I actually love that IGC attracts a lot of women who care about being well trained
Mhm.
because I will say I think the path to success sometimes can be a little bit longer when you want to be really excellent at what you do. And
Ooh,
like
say that.
what?
I said, say that. Like, yes.
I'm sorry, but it's like not, and we've never sold like the get rich quick overnight, like just
Mhm.
become a coach, sell a course. It's like you're good at something, sell a course right now. And it's like, well, slow down, everybody. Like, I just feel like if you want to have a really great, profitable, and sustainable business, you have to consistently be really great at what you do. And maybe this is the teacher and going to endless professional development trainings for years. But you also have to stay committed to your craft and be willing to, put yourself in learning environments again and again and stay up to date on things that are working. And once I realized that generally wasn't happening in the coaching industry when I first got into it about 10 years ago, I was like, disturbed, also like grossed out a little bit. And I was
Mm,
like, how do we make this more legit? And the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation, which is who we're accredited through, seemed to be the only, body or organization that was actually like enforcing that and having a code of ethics and having,
yeah.
different events and workshops that you could attend to, like I said, stay more up to date on best practices, get support. And to me, that just made sense when I'm thinking big picture, because I don't think I've ever
Mhm.
thought like short term about anything.
I think this is why we get along so well. We're both like, what's possible? Let's create all the things.
Yeah, and I literally just was in a podcast and I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do most of the things that I set my mind to, but I'm just
Yeah.
like I'm going to keep doing them and working towards the vision. And the the other thing here is like coaching is one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced as a consumer. If I hadn't ever
Yeah.
received coaching, I would probably still just be still. I don't know. I'd be stuck. I'd be still.
Well, let's talk about that. So there are two kind of avenues that I want to get into with you because of your unique position, right? So there is the power of coaching as someone who received coaching, and like you said,
Mhm.
it changed your life. Like I always say, coaching is transformative, right? It
Yeah.
can good coaching, right, can
Yeah.
transform the trajectory of one's life.
Yeah.
And then the other avenue is around people that might be interested in becoming a coach. But let's go
Yeah.
with that first one first. So, like, what brought you to coaching as a client first?
Yeah. Wow, it's crazy when I really think like put myself back in that time period,
Mhm.
like about 10 or 11 years ago. I mean, I now looking back, I can see how every single thing that I ever did was a stepping stone and piece by piece, like it all makes sense, right? But in the moment, I will just say that I was finishing up my master's, I was going into my seventh year teaching.
Mhm.
I had all of these ideas. And I just started talking about them to everyone. And like most people thought I was crazy. And most of my ideas were just around like reforming education and, you know, giving students access. I was teaching in public school in the era of Michelle Rhee. And if people, some people
Mm,
know, some people don't, I don't have to get into it, but it was
mhm.
very toxic.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
buzzword now, but like it was very hard, like to be in that bureaucracy of public education and standardized testing. And I'm working in this area of DC where, my kids are coming to school witnessing trauma the night before, not having food
Mhm.
the night before. And I'm like, why am you expect me to go through 5,000 math facts a week? I can't. Like I can't like ignore the other things happening, and we're very under supported. We didn't have a lot of staff in the terms of guidance counselor or support system. And I just remember thinking to myself, there's no way I can, in good integrity, keep this up without
Mm,
going into these other things. And I started talking about a lot. I started going to rally, like I was in DC, like you could go to a rally
mhm.
for public education reform every weekend. I started this Twitter about talking about, different things that we should be bringing into our classrooms. And
Mhm.
then I was just like one weekend, I was like, I'm just going to write this curriculum myself. And I started writing like curriculum for, confidence, self-care, goal setting. Um, I wasn't, it was very surface level if I look back at it, but
Mhm.
it hit. Everybody liked it. I still get messages from my students like
Well, but we
about
start
those.
somewhere, right? There was a
Yeah.
need, you had a gift, and it was like,
Yeah.
I can do something where I am with what I've got to
Yeah.
address it. Yeah.
Yeah. Resourcefulness has never been my issue. Don't worry, I have plenty. That has never been one of them. So I just started doing this. I started talking to people about it. I was dating this baseball coach at the time, and I was at
Mhm.
one of the baseball games, and I was with another coach's wife and or girlfriend, and she was like asking me about my job. And I was like, well, I love teaching, but I like hate public education. I'm having a really hard time.
Mhm.
But I have like started all these ideas. I think I was working on one of my like workbooks or something at the game, but um, she's like, "You have to meet my friend Katie." And I'm like, "Okay." Uh, and I was very positive about this stuff that I was creating, but I was really struggling inside. I was really
Yeah.
struggling in that relationship, and I was really the baseball and I was also really struggling at work, and I also felt like it's like that thing that keeps you up at night, and I know you know this, Roselle. It's like once
Mhm.
you see the vision, it's like I can't go I like I have
I
to like
can't
make
stop.
changes. Yes, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's a blessing and I'm not usually a curse, but
But it
sometimes I gotta
can
sleep.
be, and it
Yeah.
can be, especially, and this is where the beautiful, like, this is where the relationship with you and Katie, I know, began, right? But this is, I think, also a point to why coaching is important, because for those of us that do have that idea, we have this consistent feeling, we talk about pain points, that there's something more, that I want to do something different, and I don't know where to start. And like, by all intents and purposes, for all intents and purposes, you have a career, you're doing
Yeah.
good work, like, and it's not enough. You want
Well,
more.
exactly. And it's like you feel this like hunger that like won't go away. And that's why I always
Mhm.
tell people who are like thinking about signing up for coaching or training, I'm like, I hate to tell you, but it's like not going to leave. Like your purpose is not going to just disappear. Your vision is not going to be erased from your
Nope.
brain. Like you have it now, and it wouldn't be put on your heart and in your mind or in your soul if it wasn't meant for you. And I have to
Yeah.
constantly remind myself of that. But that, like, so I meet Katie from this. And first of all, I just like, I was like so impressed with her because
Mhm.
I was like, wow, like she seems to have it all. And obviously we've been working together for almost a decade now and like we're both messy humans but doing our
Mhm.
best and making the best. But she kept asking me these questions. Like,
Mm.
so what do you want? And I'd be like, well, my dad wants me to do this and my boyfriend wants, and she'd be like, I don't care what they want. And I'm like,
Yes.
what? Huh? She's like, "What does Olivia want?" And I just remember bawling my eyes out in my storage room closet in my classroom because I was like, "No one has ever asked me this before." And it sounds
Mm.
so basic, but I was like, "Oh my God." If for the first time in my life, I'm like, "Oh my God, someone thinks I matter?"
Yeah. Yeah. And not only that you matter, but that you have the power, the agency, the ability, right, to shift your reality and to
Yeah.
create a new way of being, not just for you. And we've talked about this like offline. What we're doing is not just for us, right? It's for our families, it's for your kids, it's
Yeah.
for like shifting the realities that have been maybe pervasive in our family lineage, right? So to have someone, and this is one of the things that I do love about both you and Katie, but Katie has a way of like asking the question and like getting all the other stuff off the table. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about them, I'm not talking about expectations of outside of yourself, I'm talking about you. Like,
Oh
let's
yeah. She
get
will bottom
centered.
line the shit out of all of us.
Yes. And it's like, oh shit, what do I want? Like, who am I? What's going on that I think this? Where did this thought come from? How do I? So yeah.
Yeah. But that's exactly it. And I was just like, and I think now, just in the age of like information and technology and social media, like we're probably confronted with more of this kind of thinking than I was even just 10 years ago. But it's a different thing to have someone ask you. Like we can read the quote, we can
Yeah.
get empowered by reading books or watching, certain YouTube channels or maybe watching this. But it's very different when someone is in this like close one on one intimate container with you and they're like, what do you want? And like, what is in the way of you having that? And then realizing that a lot of the things in the way of us having it can genuinely be removed,
Right.
whether it's a people or a job or a lack of confidence. Like those obstacles can be worked through. Like you are not stuck. And, shortly thereafter, I put in my notice at my job. I drove to the beach. I broke up with my boyfriend with the guy I was dating in my therapist parking lot, which is just dramatic. But I just remember being like, oh my God, I have choice.
Yeah, I have
What?
choice. One of the things, and speaking of choice, so one of the things that anyone who knows me knows this about me, right? Like justice, equity, the reality of oppressive systems, white
Mm-hmm.
supremacy culture, patriarchy, all of these things, right? Um, I can't deny that, right? They're realities with the clients, organizations I work with, right? I'm
Yeah.
very clear that there are oppressive systems at play. And I feel like as I've become more grounded in my identity as a coach, I've recognized that those systems also are created to make us believe we don't have choice.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that there's a difference. And I think you spoke about it beautifully when you talked about when you were working in DC public schools of like when kids or people have a need, you have to meet that need first. Right. So if they're not getting food, if they don't have the spaciousness to like just breathe and be, like if they're not having all of those fundamental resources that create a conducive environment for learning, no matter how great of a teacher you are, if you're not creating interventions that help address that or at least recognize the reality, then it's a problem. And I kind of
Yeah.
feel like that with coaching, right? So I always want to be clear when I'm talking to folks, there are absolutely places, spaces, people, situations where your work in this season is to survive. And that it's not just about you saying, oh, I'm going to just wake up one day and be this thing. Cause I struggle with that, right? We going back to what you were talking about in terms of toxic things that you
Yeah.
see in the coaching industry. So I guess I'm curious about your thoughts around all of this, right? Like the choice,
Yeah.
the reality of the systems that we are a part of, how we as coaches approach that and engage the nuance of that reality.
Well, I think that's also comes from really great training, like actually getting training around inclusivity and other people's cultures and lived human experience. That's the part that kills me when coaches deny someone's lived human experience or they blame them for their situation based on their actual human experience. Like
Yes.
there are times in your life when you know that you are not living in alignment with yourself and therefore you are attracting shitty situations. There are
Mhm.
also other times where you are a victim of some type of abuse, oppression, and I actually believe it's up to the individual to decide where their lived
Yes.
reality falls. It is not up to me,
Yep.
right? And so understanding those, the client's different perspective. We say in coaching that the client is the expert in their own life, right?
Hmm.
We don't get to say that, oh, you're showing up as a victim. And like, if you just think differently, you
Nope.
could have differently. But I do think that we can put our clients at choice. Is this something that you want to move forward from? How can I best support
Hmm.
you moving forward from that? And sometimes it's not coaching, right? Sometimes it's absolutely, therapy or support of, someone that they have in their life that has a shared experience with that. Like it's not always coaching, but our job as a coach is to help them find the path forward. But
Yeah.
they have to choose that. And
Yeah.
I also recognize that driving away from my job was a privilege and a choice that I don't
Mhm.
think I could have made if I well, I mean, financially, I don't know what I was going to do. I was hoping for
Because
the
I was like, it
best.
wasn't like you were rolling in dough at that point. Like
No,
you
my
were
dad
like,
had
what the
practically
hell?
disowned me. I didn't have a home to go. So I was just like,
Yeah.
well, but like I said, I chose to be really resourceful. Like I started babysitting, I started pet sitting.
Mhm.
I would do anything. I used to call them MMAs, money making activities. Like my old roommates back in DC used to laugh. But I just was like, I have to think of ways to make money so that I can move forward. But I did finish the school year and like I didn't
Mhm.
leave the kids that moment. I couldn't have done that. But so once I made that choice, I still had
Had
space
some
to like
time.
figure out how I was actually going to do things. Um
Well, and can
But
I pick up on the privilege piece? Because one
yeah,
of the things that I found with my clients is even if they are not white women, right? But they are clients that have access and forget about their access. I often ask them, what privileges do you have in this moment? And how
yeah,
are you either embracing or denying the privilege, right? Because
yeah,
we get to, like, I had the privilege of walking away from my job and career, not because I had something else lined up, but because I had a home that I came back to. Right. I
mm-hmm,
literally came back to my parents' home, my childhood bedroom in 2016.
yeah.
And it's interesting though, once I made the decision to leave because things were out of alignment, it's like other things start, I don't know how it works. Things started to open up,
Oh, you know how it works.
right? And
Sky
so,
Daddy. I'm just kidding.
yeah, it's like, here you go. You've been holding on to this thing and there's
Yeah,
more, but until you let go. And I do think that it is possible, right? For
yeah,
people to shift their reality, but it requires the good and hard work of the reflection, the willingness to
yeah,
lean in, the honesty with oneself, like all of that.
yeah. And well, and that's the gift of well done coaching is that we're going to put our client at choice, but
Mhm.
it's not like this overnight success. It's not like, okay, now that you decided you want different, your life isn't going to necessarily change overnight.
Mm.
But that's where, like, actually having consistent coaching or access to support and accountability helps you pave that path. Like, I think that there's this misconception that just because you choose something, it means like it's going to happen instantly. And that's also why people like quit their dreams or entrepreneurship because they're like, it's been 7 days and I haven't made $1 million. And I'm like, why
Yeah,
don't you
like,
make it a goal to make like 1,000 first, right? Or like,
like
I
those
don't
small
know. I don't like,
steps.
yeah. And not to say that you can't have, extreme success quickly, but I think it's often like people want to paint the picture that of an overnight success, and it can
Mhm.
really mess with people's ability to stay in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I've been sharing with clients recently is around the reality that whatever way of thinking, being, believing, behaving that you have embodied to this point, you've been doing it for decades. Right. And a
Mhm.
lot of my clients are women who were like recently retired. They're women who have gone through a divorce after being married for 30 years. Like these are women who are like 50s, 60s,
Yeah.
and they're like recognizing, oh, I want more. And I love it for them because it's like, yeah, life ain't over. Life is just getting started. You're starting
Oh
a new
my God,
chapter.
yeah.
But the reality that I'm like, so you made the choice and you have 50 years of operating under this other choice. Not that we have to say you're going to have another 50 years before this, because now you have more awareness, you have a different way of functioning. But that's where the practice becomes important, right? That's where the awareness, the self compassion, and
Yeah.
having a coach that's accompanying you. And truth be
Yeah.
told, there are clients now that I've been working with for like 3 years. And I love it because they get the long term like
Yeah.
benefits and at every stage. So it's like, okay, I went through my divorce, so I sold my law practice and now I'm doing this and now I feel this way. And I'm able to say, remember 2 years ago where you
Yeah.
were and where you are now? Like to see that through line has been really powerful.
Yeah. And what you do in coaching and as a coach, and I think we were talking about this before, it's like a transferable skill, like, or a
Yes.
transferable new embodiment. So like just because you're showing up to, your career now with more confidence, that also will translate into the other areas of your life. Like once you've worked with a coach, you can start moving faster through obstacles even
That's
like
it.
outside of your coaching conversation because
Yep.
of your new self-awareness. And it's like that whole thing with Katie, like, what do you want? It was like, you can't, once you know, you can't unknow it. So, like, once you know
Listen.
that you are able to show up as powerful, as assertive, as confident, as, loving or soft or warm, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I know I can do it. So it's now up to me to choose to embody that version of myself. And the more
Yeah.
you do it, the easier it becomes.
The more you do it, the easier it becomes, right?
Yeah.
The practice of it. So, oh my God, this is so good. We could talk forever, but I do
I
want
really
you,
think we could. We need a reality
I
show.
know, like, listen, we already have, for anyone listening, we have a lot of things in common with our love of all things pop culture. And so I
Oh
know that
gosh,
we
yeah.
could
Can we do
totally.
that breaking down of the reality stars? That would
Yes.
be fun.
And like, oh my gosh, who would you like to coach, right? Who's a reality star that you would love to coach?
That I would love to coach.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, Teresa from Real Housewives of New Jersey for sure.
I love it. I love it.
And I wouldn't mind like a little Jen Shaw.
I have lots of thoughts about Jen Shaw, but it would be really fascinating to see her inside of a coaching container.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's interesting. I don't know, not so much a reality star, but a celebrity. Like I would love to coach Megan Thee Stallion. Like
Oh my gosh.
that would be a
Everyone tag
dream.
her below.
Like, that would be because she's incredible and she has publicly embraced so much and
Yeah.
experienced so much. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this would be a dream. That'd be a dream client. So, we'll put it out there. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
I mean, this is step one, right? Put it out there.
Know what you want, right?
Yeah. Speak it into existence.
So, just I would love to hear a little bit more. What's your Inner Glow Circle IGC? Talk to us about IGC, what it is, who it's for, and is there anything coming up that you want to share that is important
Yeah.
for people to know?
Yeah. Thank you. Well, obviously, Roselle is a graduate of all of our courses at this point. We're literally inventing a new one so that she can be on it.
That's a thing. Like that's a thing. And it's funny
Yeah.
because that's been a through line in my life before too. So I need to pay attention to that.
Yes, right. I love it. So, IGC Coaching School is an ICF or International Coach Federation accredited coaching school. We serve all women. It's all virtual, fully accredited, and it's the first of its kind in the world. So, you know, we train and certify coaches, and we do train and certify coaches to coach anyone around anything, because I know you will agree with me, Rosella, people used to come to me for career coaching and damn, I was barely talking about a career, right?
Yep. Yep.
Because we become the safe space where anything goes. And so we do offer the full professional coaching certification, but we have wonderful trainers and coaches on our team that specialize in a variety of different areas. So you can kind of, pick and choose how you niche, but I'm a huge stand for just being, like I said from the very beginning, being an excellent coach. And one of the standards of the ICF is being able to dance in the moment with your clients, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that means being prepared to coach, around whatever comes up. And what else do we have? We have classes open in the spring, so we're open now. If you're wondering about coaching, or if you feel like you're the friend, I always say, if you feel like you're the friend that everyone goes to for support, or if you've been in any type of helping career, we have so many, social workers, teachers, nurses, that, just want to expand. And I do often say, like, we'll teach you exactly how to start and grow your business, but also, learning this doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave what you're doing either. I think it can also
Yeah.
help you grow professionally. But we have a workshop. It's innerglowcircle.com/become a coach. And it walks you through our training process. And it also walks you through like how you know if it's right for you, which I think is really important. We believe as a company, but also as women, that it's really important to choose things that are really a good fit for you and your vision. And so that workshop also helps you kind of, picture your life. Like, could I do this? Is this the answer? Is this what I want to be doing? And then if you do get that workshop, we're going to have another event. It's not even announced yet. So get that workshop now, and then you'll be on the list to get an event that I'm hosting a little later in March.
I love it. I love it. And to your point, like to what you said, Liv, there were women who are a part of my cohort who work in HR, who are therapists, who may not necessarily be opening up a totally different coaching practice, but this has like just continued to solidify their skills.
Yeah.
So we'll share
it's a
all the
good little
links
side
below.
income. Who doesn't want to make at least $150 an hour on,
Listen. And the thing
that's
that
on
I
the
will
low
say
end.
about IGC, that is on the low end, what I will say about IGC is that it wasn't just about becoming a really good coach. The deeper that you get into, that's why I'm like going through all the programs. It was also for me about becoming a badass entrepreneur, right?
Oh
To
yeah.
become a business owner. And so the beautiful thing of like, I'm able to be both and, right? This coach, this service
Yeah.
provider, but I'm not simply a service provider anymore. I'm a business owner who provides services. And that's been a
CEO,
shift,
baby.
yes, that I've loved. So
Yeah.
this has been just a joy. Thank you so
I
much
know.
for
I wish we could
joining
do
me.
this forever or more often. Maybe we will.
Well, we can. We can
Yeah.
create whatever reality we want. So
I
for
know.
those for those who are watching, thank you so much for joining, for being a part of this conversation series. Remember, we'll be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll be interviewing a new coach throughout Women's History Month as we help you consider new possibilities and create new realities through the power of coaching. I am Rosella Ide White, your Love Big Coach, and this has been Elevate Coaching. Thanks for joining us.